All right. So again, that conditional values and whatnot can get a little confusing as you're going through them. That should be what I want there. And of course, once I go into testing, make sure it's working correctly. If I encounter any issues, then I'll come back to it and adjust accordingly. But I believe that's what I want. I want it to do there. Okay, so now that we've got that taken care of, there's a couple of things that we can do. So at this point, I do want to take a look. Open this. I want to address this and what I intend to do here with this. It's also in the silence section, but it's not in the band section. So I want to look at that, and I want to address what happens when you ban a user versus silencing a user. And banning a user has a similar functionality. It'll remove the user from the group, but it will also prevent them from being able to join back into the group. So we'll look at that in a second. And yeah. Crap. Okay. So we want to, let's go ahead and try to remember what I wanted to do exactly next here. Come on. Okay. All right, so really the band aspect of things will come back into play later on throughout the app. Especially whenever we have lists set up of groups that are searchable and joinable, that aspect of things will be useful at that point. But also, if the group is private and therefore it's invite only, and let's say we do a deep link, and that user still has access to that deep link and tries to link back in to the group. If they're in the banned list, we want to make it so that, oh, whoops. What did I just do? There we go. We want to make it so that if they try and come in through a deep link to rejoin a private group, if they're in the banned list, they won't be able to do so. So let's go back here. Let's see. Let's go to the group page real quick. And we want to do a page level action on page load. Do a conditional. Well, we're not going to be able to do a page level, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Can't do a page level for... Okay. All right. I'll have to think about that, how I want to do that exactly. There's some different ways that I've done it in the past. So when you're querying something at the page level, so I'm querying the group at the page level, you cannot include the page level query in an action at a page level. They can't operate at the same time because the action wouldn't know what it's looking for in that query, because the query technically is either happening at the same time or hasn't happened yet. So that's not going to work. So we'll have to take that into account when we set up invites into private groups. So we'll look at that at a different time. We'll come back to that. So let's go back to moderating, group moderation, and finish that out. Group moderating members. Okay, so we do have the silenced functionality set up here. So I guess let's just go ahead and check here. Let's go ahead and address what I wanted to do with the view option. So what I was planning on doing with that, and again, I mean, everything I'm doing here is just kind of suggestive. You give you some ideas of how to do things, and of course you can do what you want on your own. But I'm going to do a bottom sheet for this. I'm just going to use one here. Do moderate view member. And let me go back. Open that, and I need to link to it. So let's link to our bottom sheet here. And something important to know, I don't think I addressed this already, but in the event that I did, I apologize, I'm doing it again. So I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to go back to that bottom sheet that I created. So moderate view member. What I plan to do in here is I'm going to put that members, I'm going to put a picture and a name and whatnot, but I'm going to put that members posts that they have made within this specific group. So if a moderator wanted to go and view a specific member's posts that they've made during their time inside that group, they can click on that view member, and then they can view all the posts that member made. So in order for a running list of posts to be able to go down through the list there, our container cannot be set to a confined height. It has to be flexible height. Let me put a column in here. Okay, which means that the container will just keep going and going and going. So if I go over here back to my page, and we set this button, if I don't define a height on that bottom sheet, then the bottom sheet is going to shoot all the way to the top of the screen. It won't stop anywhere. And let me see if I can kind of show that to you in a preview here. So as you can see, it went all the way to the top. This is my bottom sheet that I'm working with. So you can do it that way if you want. You can just let it go all the way to the top, or you can define a height for it so that it'll stop midway through the screen. I'm actually going to do like 60% of the screen, and then we can look at that again. And now you can see it stops there and doesn't go all the way to the top, and that's kind of what I want. I want it to have, I still want there to be this screen behind it for reference. That way, that tells the user that's looking at this screen that they didn't just go to a new screen, and they can actually just swipe this down to get rid of it if they want to. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to leave that at 60% of the screen. I'll leave non-dismissible turned off. I will enable drag, and I do want to reference that user that we're looking at. Okay. So hopefully that made sense and added some context to what I was doing there. And I want to add that to groups here. Okay, so now I've got this container here. I want to go ahead and just query that member so I have their data. And then now that I've got that, like I said, I'm going to throw, let's see, what do I want to do here? Bring this down some. I think I will, actually going to square off the edges on my bottom sheet. I'm not going to have them curved. Just do 0. And then up here at the top, I'm going to do that and do an indent. Well, let's see. Can I get done with the... How's that look? Yeah, that'll work. I do want it darker though. Yeah. And I'm going to make it thicker. Okay. All right, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take, well, no, sorry. No, don't do that. I'm going to do a stack next. And I'm going to push that down some. And then I'm going to do an image here. And I'm going to make that infinite. I'll bring it down a little bit like that. And then on that stack, I'm also going to do a circle image. Definitely going to reduce the size on that, maybe 70. That'll work. I do want to move it over some. Actually, we're going to stick that sucker right in the middle. And 148. So let's do this. Let's see what 150 gets us. How far? 130. 110. Perfect. 110 will work. And I am actually going to increase the size. There we go. So now I'm going to set this background image to the user's banner image that they would have on their profile. And I'm going to set this to their profile image. And assuming they have not set a banner image yet, I do want something as a filler. So it's not just empty. So for the sake of not taking up too much time here, I'll just use the filler image that I've already used before. Okay. All right, so that's taken care of. So now I'm going to toss that, I'm going to use a row here. I'm going to drop it down about 6. I'm going to center, and I'm going to put some text in here. I'm going to set that to the user's display name. Okay. So that'll work there. So there's going to be some additional stuff that I'm going to add in here. So I kind of want to add some complexity to moderation, just to show you what all can be done. So I am going to add another row. I'm going to drop that down by more than 24. Not enough. Drop that down. That's too much. Goodness gracious. Okay. 60. Let's do 60. Perfect. And I'm going to do space evenly on that. And I'm going to leave that for now. We're going to come back to that later because there's some other stuff that we need to do first. And then underneath that, I'm going to do a list view. And drop it by 30. Bring it in slightly. Okay, and that's where we're going to put the users' posts that they've made inside this group. So, something that I need to do first before I can do anything else here And go back here, open this slidable view, and I need to define another parameter to the group reference. Okay. So we want to pass the group reference as well. There it is. Sorry. Flutterflow has changed their menu yet again over here. Every time they do that, it gets me a little messed up. Still having to try and figure out how they've got all this laid out. They didn't used to have folders assigned for components. They only had it for pages. So now that we've got folders, it can get a little confusing as to what I'm looking at. I'm used to only seeing it with pages, so it confuses me. I need to remember that the little diamond is a component, and the page looks like a page, so that'll help me remember. All right, so now I'm pulling in, you can see the component parameter. Now I'm getting user reference and group reference, so I definitely need that because I want the posts visible for this user here to only be for the group that we're moderating. So I don't want their posts to show up from any other group or any other part of the app. I just want it for this group specifically. So when I'm doing this, I don't need to reference the comments on the post. I am just wanting to moderate this user's posts. I don't want to link over to comments associated with it. I don't really care about likes or anything like that. I just want to be able to look at their posts. So I don't really need what the components and widgets that I've used in other pages for posts. I just need something simple. But I also don't feel like rebuilding it over and over and over again. So I'm actually going to go, I may be able to use that component that I made now. Maybe. No, I won't, because that's showing up as authenticated. Yeah, that won't work. Okay, I can't use that. So let's go back here, and let's go to good old page. And I guess let me just grab this one here. Just work with it. Okay. And then I'll drop that component in this list view. And I'm going to go ahead and query these posts. So I'm going to query collection. I'm going to query posts, list of documents. I am going to limit them. And then I'm going to set a couple of filters. First filter will be posted by reference equal to the user that I'm viewing. And then the second filter will be group reference equal to the group that I'm moderating. And as you can see, I did not query that group into this component. All I did was pass it as a parameter, so I'd grab it from the available options up here. And then I'd probably do an order by date created. Okay. All right, so now I am grabbing that user's post. Now, as it stands, I have no way to scroll. Nothing is set to scroll, so I want to set my column here to scrollable. And now I could scroll up and down like that. So now I can go down and view their posts. I do want to make sure that my user reference here is set up correctly. So it's not. So I want to go in here to my posts and post it by reference. Which, granted, since I'm looking at that user, I'm not even going to use that. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need it. All I need is the content, really. I need the content and the pictures. Now I do want to make sure the content is set up, which I doubt it is. No, it's not. Post content. Shoot. I do need the date. That's important. So let's get rid of that. Now let's duplicate. And then we can change that to the date instead. So post document, we'll do date created. And instead of doing relative for this, I'm actually going to put an actual date on here. And I may even want to do a timestamp as well. So instead of just doing a straight date, let's go ahead and go back in here and do a combine text. And the first field, let's do the date as it is. So we'll do like March 8th, 2023. And then I'm going to do at space and a space before it as well. And then we'll do a timestamp. So we'll go back to date created and get our timestamp format, and then we're going to get a time down here. So let's get the full, oops. I thought that's what I selected. Okay. All right. So now we have the full timestamp of when this post was made. That's better. We do want to remove this. We don't want this to carry over. Remember, we're assigning dynamic colors elsewhere. And then, of course, we want to go in here and make sure it's set to content for the post. And go through and just got to go back through and set all these things again. Same thing for video. And conditional, we do need to set that. And same thing for video. Okay. All right, so all that looks good. Now, as noted, I'm going to get rid of this. I don't really want comments in here. I am going to get rid of that, but I am just going to leave the likes as an indicator of how many likes the post has. So we do want to add that back in there. Number format, be compact. And we can turn that conditional visibility off and remove the action for it. Okay. So now I can look at this user's post specifically. And then, of course, if I want to do something with it, so like if I'm moderating it and I say, okay, that post isn't appropriate, and I want to get rid of it, I could add a button in here to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to add a button, I don't think. I'm just going to do a long press. So I'm going to select the entire container here. I'm going to add an action. I'm going to change that to long press. And I do want to add multiple things in here. Whoops. Change it up here. Long press. And then, of course, this would be like a alert dialog. And we do a confirmation. And then you would do your conditional, assign to that alert, add an action for confirmation of deleting the document. That would be the post and post reference. Now something important to note, terminate here and terminate there, is that when you have a bottom sheet open, a snack bar will not be visible. Snack bar may still show up, but it's going to show up behind the bottom sheet, so you won't be able to see it. So unless you intend for the action that follows the delete to close the bottom sheet and then show a snack bar, and then reopen the bottom sheet, which would be kind of pointless in my opinion, then there's no reason to add a snack bar. And quite frankly, if a user selects yes to delete the post, they'll see that post disappear. So there's really no reason to give them a confirmation on that. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to do here. Now, as far as this goes, I am going to add something in here that's going to provide some information to the moderator. Let's say that this user has been silenced or banned. So what I want to do is I want to show the moderator, if they were silenced, what date they were silenced on, or if they're banned, what day they're banned on. And we're also going to add a functionality for a moderator to select an automatic unsilence action, so that they can set a specific time span of how long that user would be silenced for. So let's say they go to silence this user and they select 3 days. In 3 days' time, this user will automatically be unsilenced. And if the moderator wants to see, okay, how long has this person been silenced for, they can pull this up and they'll be able to see that, and they'll be able to see how much time is remaining. So it'll be helpful if there are multiple moderators for a group. So that'll be the next thing that we're going to work on. This has been a fairly lengthy tutorial this time, so I'm actually going to cut it off here. And I honestly may split up this tutorial into multiple anyway. And then in the next tutorial, we will continue on with looking at the moderation of group members.